Hi everyone. Do you know what the difference is between a dream and a goal? By the end of today's presentation, you will. We're going to be talking today about a very specific kind of goal, what we call a SMART goal. Now, this isn't just an idea that's smart because it's a good idea, but each letter actually stands for something. We're going to talk about how you create a goal that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Now, why does it matter much if your goal is specific or not? Well, think about it. If you just said something like, gee, I'd really like to get in shape, what does that mean to get in shape? Do you know what kind of shape you're in now? What would be in good shape mean for you? But if you said something really specific, like I'm going to join a health club and I'm going to go at least 3 times a week for 1 hour at a time, that's something that you can actually look at and that is something you can actually reach and attain. I've seen a lot of students over the years engage in what I call magical thinking. They say, oh, I'm just going to do better this year. But that idea of doing better isn't really specific. To have a really specific goal, you need to understand what the 6 W's are. Who's going to be involved in helping you do better? What exactly is it that you want to accomplish? Are you trying to raise a grade by 5 points, by 10 points, by 30 points? Where are you going to do these things? When is this stuff going to happen? It doesn't just happen magically. So if you're going to do better, does that mean studying an extra 10 minutes a night? Does that mean getting more sleep? Does that mean using your time in seminar a little bit better? What are the actual requirements and time constraints, and why? What's your motivation for it? Can you see really clearly how life would be better when you meet this goal? All of that gives power to your goal when you make it specific. The second part of a SMART goal is that it should be something that's actually measurable. That is, you know where you started and you can actually chart your progress towards the goal that you want to get to. You know the dates you're trying to do that, and you can really kind of watch how you go, and this is where you really get excited and you can see yourself achieving something. But you have to know measurable. So again, the idea of the student who just wants to do better this year, where are they now, what's their current average, and what average are they trying to get to? Or let's say perhaps this year you're going to join the weight club and you're going to work out with Coach Jowers and you're going to, get stronger. Well, what does that mean? If you don't know how many weights you can do right now, you won't know when you're doing more. How will you know when it's accomplished? So you could say, I'm going to start off right now with the 12-pound barbells, and by the end of 6 weeks, I want to be up to doing 15. How many repetitions? How strong are you actually going to get to be? So to determine if your goal is measurable, you need to ask questions like, how much will I have to do of this? How many times? And more specifically, and most importantly, how will you know when it's accomplished? When do you know when you've actually met your goal? Is it measurable? The A in SMART goals stands for attainable goals. It's really important that while we want you to dream big, that you do have goals that are actually something that's within your power to change. For example, I could set a goal that I want to be taller tomorrow, and there's just not much I can do to make myself taller. That's kind of out of my own circle of influence. So you want to make sure that you choose a goal that's something that you are going to be able to control how well you do and how fast you meet that goal. There are a lot of famous sayings about how to attain really difficult long-term goals. The longest journey begins with a single step. The mightiest river is just a trickle when it starts. The old joke about how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant by, one bite at a time. So you can attain almost any goal you set if you actually set out a time frame and plan how you're going to carry out those steps. And even though it may seem something that's very far away, if you take it very small steps at a time, you may find that a lot of what you have dreamed about is actually well within your reach. Now, having said that you can attain almost any goal you set, your goal still has to be realistic. And that realistic means that it's something that you are both willing and able to do. So let's say, for example, that you are barely passing English right now, and your goal is to be an A student. Well, in order to get there, you better be ready to put in a fair amount of work after school, come see me for extra help, do some work on the weekends. So if you know that you're not going to be doing all those things, then maybe your goal needs to be something that's a little more realistic and small. Maybe your goal is to improve by one grade point that next year. Maybe your goal is going to be to make sure that you have no homework that's left undone, that you're going to do all the homework assignments as you go. So you have to consider your own motivation and your own willingness to work when you set out a realistic goal. So those high goals can be easier to reach if it has a lot of motivation behind it, something you really want, because it becomes this labor of love and you're willing and able to put the work in for it. But you have to ask yourself that at the outset. Are you willing to work for what it is that you really want? So if you're wondering if your goal is realistic, try asking yourself questions like, do you truly believe this is something you can do? Have you ever done anything like this before? And can you look at the very specific conditions that would have to exist for you to accomplish this goal? So do you have the resources? Do you have the support? Do you have the backing? And if you don't, do you know how to get them to keep this goal realistic for you? Back when I was doing my master's degree at Syracuse University, a writing professor of mine used to say, nothing happens without a deadline. And that's very true of goals. The T in SMART goals stands for timely or time-bound. Your goal should have a specific time frame. If you don't have a specific time frame, then the procrastination starts to slip in. So when do you want to do better in English? Well, soon. Well, what does soon mean? Because if it's just soon, then that video game is going to look pretty enticing tonight. When did you want to lose a certain amount of weight by? Because if you don't have a specific deadline, then that opportunity to go eat burgers with folks after school is going to seem a lot better than going to the gym. And you can always think, well, I'll just do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day. So if you don't have a time frame, your goals are very likely to kind of slip into the realm of just not happening at all ever. Some folks use the T in SMART goals to also stand for tangible. Something that's tangible is something you can actually see, that you can touch, taste, experience with your senses. So when your goal is tangible, that is, you can actually measure it, you can actually look at the results that it will have, you have a much better chance of making it attainable. So our goal is that this year at RTHS that you create some SMART goals for yourself. And these could be things directly connected to your academic achievement here. It might be something connected to an extracurricular activity you'd like to get involved with, a business or professional goal with internships and working with our partner companies, maybe a social goal of making some new friends of some sort. But all of these things should be something that's really a SMART goal, that is a goal that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Thanks for your time. Your seminar teacher will now have a handout for you to go ahead and practice creating a SMART goal for yourself.